So today we're going to look at all about Google My Business, some various interesting things that have occurred in the last few weeks on Google My Business. So you may be interested to see what these developments are. Did you know, for example, that the knowledge panel has got smaller? And I think this may be to do with adverts. In fact, it's surprising the amount of advert information that Google has about you. There's also a new feature that's coming up for older businesses. So I wonder whether you've taken advantage of that. You notice they've been testing a new dashboard from within your Google My Business area. Also, how do you get questions to complicated answers? Like, how can I change my verification process? There's been lots of changes to the algorithm, it appears. And also I'm going to cover some questions from my subscribers. So welcome to this video. So I'm Zane from Zanet Design, and I help businesses grow on the internet. So if you've registered your business, whether it's using social media like Facebook, LinkedIn, or whether you're trying at the moment to learn more about Google My Business and you want to know all about what's going on, what the latest features are, then this video is perfect for you, as I share my experiences that I'm learning, and then as we learn them together, we see what we can do to improve your business, to gain more leads, more clients, and more traction. So let's jump straight away, first of all, into some questions from you subscribers. Here's your first question. One of my businesses I manage has 3 reviews with a 3.7 rating. One of the reviews is not a customer, but just called to get info and didn't like what he heard, so he gave a bad rating. This is very frustrating, as the person was just a caller and not a customer. So maybe you can relate to that. And if that was a case of it wasn't a real true customer, then what can you do about it? Well, we did cover this in a recent video to some degree, but maybe the answer in this case would be if the person's not prepared to change it, if Google's not prepared to change it too, then just be transparent, explain the situation in an answer, and then you just have to leave it and then grow more positive reviews over time. I think most people would honour and respect someone in the business world that handles things well, even when things go wrong. So that would be my advice there. So the next question is regarding products. So I publish my products, but I can't seem to see them in Google. Please help. Well, the thing is when you publish things in Google, and we're going to see this a bit later in this video, you'll notice that everything you publish doesn't necessarily get exposed to the Joe public. So for example, if you build up a nice catalogue of products, you may find that people can't see those products when they do a search for your business in Google. As long as those products appear though in the back end, in your Google My Business back end or your dashboard, then you know those products are still ready to go. And literally Google will turn switches on and off depending on what they want to show on your knowledge panel, as we'll go on to see in a moment. So that's my advice there. Just get your products up together and then hold fire until Google turns them back on again. So this question was just really more of an observation about some of the recent videos I've released, because they're all just under a minute, some of these videos. And he's put here, I see what you did there with these hashtag shorts to boost it up. That's what I'm going to try and do with my video too. And that's true that actually, if you have a business and you're using YouTube, then at the moment there's this also other idea about using hashtag shorts, where you can produce videos that are under a minute. And the idea is it just gives you a wider exposure. They're a vertical format or portrait format. I'm going to show a video soon of why businesses should be using this as another opportunity to get your branding out there. So at the moment, you may notice every so often you get a video or two that's just 1 minute long. These are more aimed at people wanting to use their mobiles and just to be exposed to this channel. So they will be one little valuable tip in there. So they're still worth watching on a standard desktop, or if you just watch them on your tablet. But even so, that's the reason for doing these hashtag shorts that you'll get every so often. Don't be put off by them, because they are going to help businesses grow in a very different way very soon on YouTube. So let's now jump straight onto my computer and I'll show you what's new in Google My Business. And you're going to find there's some interesting things that are being developed in the last few weeks.
First observation and change, you may have noticed that this is a lot thinner
So the width has certainly gone, so much so that the call button doesn't even sit to the right any longer. And so this is a much thinner panel. So why have they done this? And also there's another thing I've noticed is they've now removed one of my profiles as well. I had an Instagram here. Now, true, Instagram hasn't been updated with anything for probably 6 months, certainly not to do with business. So that may well be the reason that these need to be updated with business information for Google to continue to honour them as profile links. So that's interesting that I've gained one and I've lost one over the last few weeks. But what I will say is, why is this thinner? Well, I'm going to suggest that I did a search for men's trainers, and notice how this ad is now appearing in this area. And if I overlay, you'll notice the width, that actual width there and that column length, I think is purely to promote these various adverts. So just look out for that. I think Google is planning on using this as an advert area. And also, just this might shock you, but if you click on this, why these ads, you can turn certain ads off, but ad settings, look how much information Google has on what you like and how it's personalized. So that's a different subject altogether, but I just thought I'd mention that to you. So here's my second thing that's new on Google My Business at the moment. If you do a search for banks, I did banks near me, and the banks come up. You notice they don't have any ratings anymore. So why is this? Why is there no ratings? Well, actually, funny enough, if I do a search for building societies, which are similar to banks, you do get the ratings. So why we've got ratings here for building societies, but when it comes to banks, they don't seem to be getting. In fact, they've got a very different type of format. And this all comes down to the fact that one of them is a brand pack and one of them is a local pack. So let me explain how that works. So this is a local pack. So here, if I do a search for shoes, then local shoe shops come up. And that's the same with the building society. They're just considered local building societies. But the reason why bank has no star is because rather than it being a local shop, if I put in now a brand, so that brand there, if I do a search for that brand, Deichmann Shoes, then you get this brand system that comes up. But you notice that when it speaks of just the brand, there's no stars at all. So it appears that all banks are now considered one brand. They share a common denominator as a brand or a brand pack rather than a local pack. Why? Who knows? But it will be interesting to see how that develops in the coming weeks ahead. Now, on this next new thing in Google My Business, I just wanted to point out, you may have come across here that it's asked you, when did your business first open? Tell customers how long you've been in business. So have you had that where you've had to then enter the date your business started? Or even when you register your Google My Business, sometimes you have to put the opening date or the start date. And up to now, I've never really understood why, but I think I've now got an answer. If I go to, I did a search here for garden services locally in Poole, and I just noticed here, look, 7+ years in business, and this one less than 1 year in business. So it appears now that that date feature as to when you registered your business is now beginning to show in the search process. And as with most things, Google experiments. This is a current experimentation of how long your business has been going for. So just interesting to see what that may bring in the coming months ahead. Now, you may have come across this, certainly it's not something I've had yet, but if you run several businesses in your Google My Business panel, then you'll notice that there's a new form or new layout that's being found amongst some people's businesses. Now, this is Claire Carlil. She tweeted this recently, and I think this is a great find. And she actually points a few things as well. So you notice this has got a red dot here. So for this particular business, I think it's suggested that that means there's an external edit. So someone's made an edit, not necessarily you, and you need to now go in and check that that's correct. So that's kind of a good little signal that may happen if you've got several businesses to consider. The second one is obviously if you want to add photos, it's an easier way of doing it within several businesses. And the third one is if you want to add a post. So it seems that sometimes that functionality is available and sometimes not. And then finally, how you're seen on Google. So that's a good way of just seeing how the public see you. But that's a really useful little layout that appears to be experimented on some people's versions of Google My Business in their dashboard. And this has just appeared recently. When it comes to reinstatements, it appears there's now a progress support case. So rather than having perhaps a reinstatement applied for and then waiting and not knowing whether they've even responded to it, this now gives you a kind of key number so that you can know that the issue is being taken care of, and it kind of gives you an update on the progress as well to let you know whether or not they've agreed, whether they've then reinstated it, and so on. So this is a really useful thing going forward as well. And of course, if you have ever gone in a situation where you've needed to reinstate a case, which is happening to quite a few people at the moment, then obviously there are a process to follow. So I've got a video that will help you with that. So if your business has been suspended and you are in the process of reinstatement, or you want to know how you can reinstate your business the right way, then there is a video that's going to help you now. So I'll meet you over there and I'll see you on that video.